I'm gonna use this primitive cube object and start with a blank canvas. And let's take a look at the equal node. It actually is a very simple node. It has only 2 inputs and 1 output. And it only gives you the value of 1 when 2 inputs are exactly equivalent to each other. Otherwise, it outputs 0. Now let's quickly bring here the constant node and duplicate this to simulate 2 different signals for both of the inputs. Let's set the value of 5 for the first constant node and the value of 1 for the second. I'm gonna connect all of these nodes together and introduce the result node just to keep the track of what's going on. Obviously, right now, these 2 inputs are not exactly matched to each other. They're different, and we should get a 0 value as the result. But once those values become a perfect match, equal node returns 1. Change the values and it's gonna give you 0 again. Technically, that's the main point of the equal node, but it also gives us the great opportunity to demonstrate the differences between 2 data types, integer and real. So let's not just waste it. I'm gonna drop the cube object onto the canvas here. We're gonna be using its use color port to visualize the process a bit better. It requires a boolean value, which is exactly what we have as the output of the equal node. So I'm gonna connect those nodes together and get rid of one of the constant nodes. And instead of it, let's bring the time node here. By default, this time node outputs the current time according to the timeline in seconds. Just to prove it, let's duplicate some of those result nodes and connect it to the output of this time node. Right now this project is set to 30 frames per second, so we just have 3 seconds within this timeline. Now let's go back to the equal node. Its current data type is set to real right now, which is very precise. So it's not gonna round any incoming value for us. But if I switch this type to integer, it's gonna round any number it receives to the nearest integer. Let's quickly drop the constant number down to 1, which is gonna be the equivalent of second, because at first second we have all the values rounded to 0, and when it goes beyond the limits of 30 frames, the values become rounded to 1, which is the perfect match for our constant node, and we get 1 as the output of equal node as well. To track the third second, you only need to switch the value of constant node for 2. So, that's the equal node. And if you really like these XPresso tutorials, you can find the whole course devoted to XPresso available on the App Store. Just type in XPresso or follow the link below.